Today we're going to review all of the charges made against Donald Trump. Hey everybody, this is Tom with Tom's Talk Show, and I've definitely moved all of my political, social type commentary over here to this talk show channel, and thanks everybody for moving and subscribing to this channel as well from my main channel, the Tom's Tech Show. I just wanted to separate, the two. I mean, it'll take a while to build up, a following on this channel. I don't think it'll ever be monetized because of the, content, but that's fine. It's still things that need to be said, right? Ordinary people need to stand up and start speaking and start putting out content that that they know in their heart, right, is true, that they know, has integrity, right? That's the whole thing, and that's not what we're getting from our government at all. So I did a search trying to find, okay, what are the 34 charges, and I would get a lot of web pages says, here are the 34 charges and what they mean. And Trump's 34 charges under Article 75, and then that's it. They don't go through all the different charges or anything. They just say, yeah, there were charges, whatever. So that's on the Washington Post. Then I looked up, okay, USA Today. What are the 34 charges? Yeah, there's some charges, but we're not going to detail them or write them out or anything or give you any kind of extra information, because then you might understand that it's basically garbage, right? So here is the grand jury. Thank you very much to The Guardian, who actually posted the full text of what the indictment is here. So, and all of them read very, very much the same. Grand jury, County of New York indictment accuses defendant of the crime, falsifying business records in the first degree. So that the defendant in the County of New York and elsewhere, I love that, and elsewhere. It's like, anywhere where we don't have jurisdiction probably. So I don't know how that works, how you can just take and say elsewhere, right? If you don't have jurisdiction, your jurisdiction is the County of New York, and you're saying elsewhere outside of the County of New York, well, you have no jurisdiction, you have no standing. And that right there is kind of like cause for immediate dismissal of all the charges to me, right? That's how I see it in common sense. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we like these charges here in this county where we have jurisdiction, but we're just going to go everywhere. We just want everything. Well, no, that's an error in your statement and in your publication here. So that means that it's a mistake. So that means we discount all of that. And every single one of these says the same thing, New York and elsewhere. Okay, so fine. And most of them are an invoice from Michael Cohen dated on February 14th, marked as a record in the Trump organization, basically. And we already know that Michael Cohen has served, a sentence, for already, doing some other things, right? We already know that he's already, I'm sure down here somewhere, there's the prison and house arrest. He was released from prison on May 21st. Cohen was photographed in Manhattan restaurant. Okay. Conviction for perjury in congressional testimony, conviction for campaign finance, tax evasion, and other charges. So they're probably trying to bring in that he's like sketchy or something already. So we can also use him and coerce him to, testify or whatever. But all of these things read almost exactly the same, in just different ways. Falsifying records, defendant, New York and elsewhere, commit with intent to defraud and defendant commit another crime, and aid and conceal the commission thereof. So hiding a crime, it's not crime to have consensual relations with somebody else and then, pay them money and ask them to be quiet. I don't think that is a crime. But so falsifying business records, again, first degree, they just repeat this over and over again in any different number things. Like this one here says bearing check number 0110013, check number 138. Wow. I think my checks all started, whenever I got them, I would make sure they started at like 1,000 or something, so people knew that it was not like the first checks out of the checkbook. So how do you get a check number 138 from a large organization like the Trump organization? Who knows? So here's more: falsifying business records, blah, 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 New York and elsewhere. Intent to defraud, intent to commit another crime, and aid in concealing of the crime. It's all the same. Falsifying business records, so the 6th, 7th, falsifying business records in the first degree. Okay, that's fine. 9th, 10th, same thing. Oh, here's another check. Oh, higher check number, 2740. So a lot of stuff may have gone on between the first one and the next one. Okay. So more falsifying records, a bearing voucher number, a big voucher number for something. So another check number here. So they've gone through his checkbook and said, where's all this money going? And, okay, well, it went, to somebody else. And they're saying that this is to pay off, Ms. Daniels to be quiet. Okay, well, it's kind of became not quiet pretty soon, so that all became moot. So, more of these things: falsifying records, all of them are falsifying records in the first degree. So we're down to 23 falsifying records in the first degree, falsifying records. And I think the problem they have, is the stat from what I've been reading and seeing. They're all falsifying all the same thing, all the way down to there. So it's all falsifying records of some kind. So what I think that they're past the statute of limitations on these, from what I've been reading back and forth. So it's going to be difficult to make anything kind of stick. I mean, the New York and elsewhere is not really something that you're jumping outside of your jurisdiction. I mean, I had a problem with a laptop that had been delivered to somebody in, I think it was Kentucky or Tennessee or something. So I called the police there, and they said, well, you're not reporting this from here. You're reporting this from Florida. So call, Florida police. And I called the Florida police, and they said, we have no jurisdiction there. You have to call them. So, I called the other Kentucky people back, and they said, oh, yeah, we'll take her. Kind of thing. So even, their officers know where their jurisdiction lies, and evidently this court doesn't know where its jurisdiction lies. I think this elsewhere is extremely problematic in that, if he's in California, wherever he is, like if he's in Florida, it's like, well, he's probably doing this for, if they call him and he's in Florida when they're sending checks to people, well, that's not in New York. So how do you reconcile that? So they're jumping outside of their jurisdiction. They're trying to they have to have evidence to prove that his intent was, in his mind, right, that the money that he sent to Ms. Daniels was specifically done with political money and done for 100% for political reasons, and that he was trying to hide it, right? It's kind of, and how they get 34 of them, it's, most of these just seem like duplicates. I think they're just trying to make, okay, let's put as many of these things as we can, into this record to make it look like it's overwhelming and unsurmounting odds, against him. Now, the other thing that happened, of course, is Trump campaign ranks $12 million since the indictment, and he's selling these lovely, photoshopped, not guilty mugshot shirts, which you knew that he was going to do. I mean, just he's a marketer, right? He's a marketing person. He's a builder, marketing person. He's was a TV personality. He knows how to drive things and produce things, things like that. So he's gonna capitalize on that. So I think the big issue, of course, is that the Democrats really want him to run for president. And they want to make sure that he's the nominee because they feel that they can easily beat him in the election. And then by doing this, just kind of fuels his fire to make him be the Republican nominee. And then they feel that they can somehow prop the vegetable that we have now up in the corner, and have him win. I think, kind of the same way, using the same mechanism that they have in place for how they got Biden to win last time, right? I mean, continue to try and suppress the Hunter Biden laptop, continue trying to suppress any money that they got in their dealings with China, and their dealing and the Biden dealing in Ukraine. Continue to suppress that, and then continue to go after people with that. And that's what the other, bill that they're putting up, this Restrict Act that they're trying to do. If they can push that through, then anybody who has any dissenting opinions about it, anybody who tries to say anything about the Bidens or their dealings or how corrupt they are, then they can just turn that around on you and just say, hey, you said something that we don't like. You said that maybe there might be something in that election that was not correct. And actually for elections, let's just be completely honest. All elections have errors, right? There's definitely a margin of error everywhere. My brother-in-law from a long time ago, he's since passed away, in Nevada, they had, hundreds of votes that came from an empty lot in the county. So, and half of the people that the votes came from were dead. So you can't tell me, when I've seen this with my own eyes, that there aren't problems in elections. Now, are those problems exacerbated? Are they, taken advantage of to push votes one way or another? Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, if no one's going to stop you, and you're not going to go to jail for it or anything like that. I've seen here in Florida, they are sending people to jail for ballot harvesting and things like that, which is good, which helps, people gain confidence back in the voting system. But if you're not going to, if you're going to continue to do it and never get caught and have no consequences, why not, as whatever political party on both sides, right? Why not just continue to do that? But I mean, that does need to be curtailed and found out and people sent to jail, for doing things like that to maintain that election integrity. And I think that's, the whole thing is, I think in the end, they think they can, they can more easily defeat Trump than DeSantis, even though DeSantis is not, very, the Trump DeSantis, numbers are, DeSantis is quite a ways behind Trump. And I think it's going to widen as they continue to do these kinds of things and continue to bring charges against President Trump. Of course, he has a huge, fanfare of people down there in Mar-a-Lago. It's about, 4 hours away from here, that they have, people. It's a big Trump area. I mean, out here where we are, there are many Trump flags and conservative flags and things like that around here. Even though we are close to a fairly liberal city, that city did flip over and kind of vote more Republican this last election and re-elect DeSantis, handily. There were very few liberal cities that stayed liberal this last election. So, but from what I can see, it's a very paper thin set of charges against him. I mean, like I said, they're going to have to try and prove his thoughts. I mean, Pelosi said it the other day, which was completely wrong, that she doesn't know how our legal system works, saying that he was going to have to prove his innocence. That is incorrect. You are innocent until proven guilty in this country. There are countries where you're guilty, and I think until proven innocent, where the burden is on you. But here in the United States, you're innocent. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, convince a jury of 12 people that there's no margin for error, right, in that. And through this, if I were on this jury, I don't think I would just go, yeah, whatever. Let's get to the end, get all your evidence done into the end so we can kick this thing out and go on with our day, right? I think that's what a lot of it's going to end up. It's going to be hard getting a jury that's going to say, oh yeah, let's just, convict him for all this crazy stuff that you're trumping up, you're pushing to try things that are misdemeanors that you're pushing to try and be felonies that, don't, for no real reason. I mean, there's no benefit to it. I mean, you look at all the things that Hillary Clinton did, you look at all the things that the Bidens are doing, many other presidents, had different dealings and everything else for, years. Our government has definitely turned and become corrupt, right? It's very corrupt and it's very much against us. And I think in the end, really, people may not like Trump because he's got, the crazy Twitter feed, but in the end, I think he would be the only real person between the government and us, that can actually kind of turn things around and clean things out. And then you get some cleaned out through another 4 years. And then maybe DeSantis would be able to come in and run it like, regular, more regular, government, but a little less corrupt and a little more honest. But we will see. I don't think any of this case is going to go very far. I think there's going to be probably an immediate motion to dismiss. And maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it all just seems, to the normal man here, it just seems like garbage. So, all right, those are the charges. That's my review kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm thinking as a normal man, normal person in the United States. We'll see where this goes. I'm sure there's tons of more charges that they're going to try and continue to levy against President Trump, and I'm sure that's just going to drive his campaign numbers even higher. But is it going to be enough to sway it against the vote gathering machine on the left? Right? Is that going to get people to say, no, I'm not going to give somebody my ballot who's driving by my house, and instead I'm going to take my ballot and go to the ballot box and vote myself in person? Is that going to happen? I don't know. I'm trying to be hopeful. So we've definitely got to take our country back, and President Trump may be just the guy to help us. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care.